Hello, everybody. This is episode 3 of Breaking Down Character Development in My Hero Academia. I was asked to do this guy, Katsuki Bakugo, and I will be going from start to finish, so this is your warning now. If you have not watched the anime all the way through or read the manga all the way through, there is going to be spoilers. So be warned, and with that warning, we're gonna get started here. So, Katsuki Bakugo, he developed his quirk, which was explosions, which not a lot of kids had a quirk that powerful. So he was told by teachers, friends, even his parents, that he had an impressive quirk and that it was powerful and that he would be unstoppable. All this, which boosted his ego to the nth degree. Now, he always thought himself to be the best of the best and that no one could surpass him, and a lot of that ego resonated in his behavior, so he would bully people he thought were not worthy to be around him or he saw as weak, which a lot of that went down on little Izuku for a lot of the seasons. And then he gets attacked by the sludge villain. Now, he always thought there was nothing his quirk couldn't do. His quirk was amazing. It had no flaws, it had no weaknesses. But he learned that day that he did have weaknesses and his quirk wasn't good against everything. And with some help from Izuku and All Might, he was freed from the sludge demon villain. He was a villain, not a demon, a villain. He was also again then praised by all the other pro heroes, saying that his quirk was amazing, it was powerful. He would make a great sidekick. Now that angered him quite a bit, and you can see it throughout the season as he pushes himself to try and be more than a sidekick. So he gets very angry and he feels like everything is against him. So moving on to the entrance exam, he ranks first, but he only has villain points. He does not receive any hero points. And then in as Aizawa's fitness test, he also ranks quite high, but at this point he finds out that he does not have the strongest quirk, and it actually bothers him quite a bit, especially when he finds out about Deku, who has an impressive quirk, even though he thought Deku was quirkless. So that angered him so much that he couldn't let it go. He was always so angry throughout the first few seasons of the series. Now moving on to the USJ incident, where we can really see him use his quirk and more in the part of hero work. Now he jumps in and attacks Kirigiri without kind of assessing the situation along with Kirishima, and they get transported to another part of the facility with multiple of their classmates being scattered across the facility as well. But you can see here that he would make a great hero because his battle IQ is top notch. He can see things happen before they happen, and he can calculate how to make the move that would be appropriate for that situation. Now, he also helps All Might when he's fighting the Nomu, along with Shoto, Izuku, and Kirishima. And he, again, is told by All Might that he is very strong, but he's told he needs to kind of calm down a little bit. And then he gets really down on himself, thinking that everything he was told, everything he thought was wrong. So you can see that he is emotional when Izuku runs out of the school to talk to him, and he is holding back his emotions and then yells at both Izuku and All Might before leaving in a huff. It just kind of shows that he is just a teenager who's going through a lot of things, and to find out that everything you were told growing up, really, it was just words and not all of it was true. And he realized that day as well. Now, moving forward to the sports festival, he does very well in the sports festival. As we all know, he does win the sports festival, but a lot of things happen that he did not anticipate. So he does the first 2 rounds, him and his group do really good, and then he goes on to the battles where he thought he could win just because of his quirk. First, he gets paired with Uraraka. Now that, a lot of people do get angry with him for the way that he acted during that battle, because Uraraka was just a weak little girl everybody saw her as, and Aizawa said it best himself. He's like, he is fighting in accordance to his opponent's strength. Now, Bakugo knew that if Uraraka at any point got close enough to touch him, the battle would be over. So he did everything he could to keep her at a distance, which meant hitting her with a barrage of explosions, which did injure her quite a bit. But she was relentless, and that was a very tough battle for him that he was not expecting it to be. He thought it would be kind of quick and easy. And then he was also not expecting her finishing move there with all the rocks in the air. So he actually did end up injuring himself with that huge explosion at the end of that battle. So she had him on the ropes for quite a while, and he did not like that. And then we'll move on to the second round where he was paired against Kirishima. He knew Kirishima would be hard because of his hardening quirk, but he did not expect it to be that hard. He was on the defense. Kirishima went toe-to-toe with him for quite a while, and again he ended up injuring himself with the sheer amount of explosions he had to do. And then we're going to move on to the final battle, which angered him the most because he was paired with Shoto. Now, he wanted Shoto to go all out against him, and Shoto didn't, and that is a kick to the ego when they don't go all out against you, and he really felt that. I'm gonna have to continue in a part 2, so stay tuned. That'll be up in a minute. Welcome to part 2 of character development, Katsuki Bakugo edition. We left off at the end of the sports festival where he had asked Shoto to go all out. He's like, icy hot, I want to fight you at your best. Shoto got so stuck in his head that he did not go all out, and Bakugo actually ended up beating Shoto quite quickly, which angered him very much. He got so angry that he wouldn't have stopped attacking Shoto if Midnight did not use her quirk to put him to sleep. He went into complete rage mode, and you can see this during the medal ceremony where they had to have his mouth covered and his hands in restraints because he was so angry that he felt like he didn't win, that was not a good win because he went all out but Shoto didn't. So he wanted basically an honorable battle, if you will, and he feels like he didn't get it. So that kind of put a wedge between Bakugo and Shoto for quite a while. Now moving on a little bit further, we get to the internship, where he got an offer from Best Jeanist. So he went to his agency and basically got a huge wake-up call, because Best Jeanist told him that a hero has to be polite, and they can't be cursing, they can't be yelling all the time and being angry, or they're not going to have any respect in the hero industry. So he changed his hair, which honestly I don't think looked good on him, but hey, some people like it, I don't. But there was kind of an altercation where some kids stopped Bakugo on the street and said that they knew him, and Bakugo thought it was because of the sports festival, but they continued to say that he was the kid who got attacked by the sludge villain, which angered him quite a bit, where he started to yell at the children. Best Jeanist tried his best to calm him down, but he still was very angry. Through that whole internship, Bakugo did learn a few lessons, and you can tell when he goes back to UA that he is different. Maybe not a huge difference, but definitely slightly different. He is more patient when people are talking to him, and he is not as angry as he normally is. And he actually starts treating his friends a bit better than he did before. Now, moving on past that, we get to the training camp, where the villains attack. He's fighting as best he can, and then he finds out that the villains are there for him and only him. And the fact that the rest of the class try to come and protect him really brought down his ego, because he thought he could do it on his own, but then he soon realized that no, he did need the help of the others, and they did their best, but in the end, Mr. Compress was able to snatch him up in one of his marbles and take him away. He was scared. You can tell that in his expressions when he's at the League of Villains hideout in that pub, but he tries his best to stay calm and to not do anything reckless. And as soon as the heroes come to rescue him, you can see the sigh of relief on his face. And then he gets stuck in the battleground between All Might and All for One's battle, which is causing All Might not to go all out. And Bakugo knows this, but he doesn't know how to escape. So he is feeling guilty that All Might is in this battle that he can't fully do anything with, until he sees his friends, and Kirishima yells out to him, and he goes to them and escapes the villains. And then All Might ultimately ends up losing his quirk in that fight, and for quite a while Bakugo feels guilty for the fact that All Might lost his quirk trying to protect him, and that he literally could do nothing to save himself. So for quite a while he holds on to that guilt. And then he fights Deku, where he does open up about that, which is a big deal for Bakugo. He has a tendency to not talk about his feelings, not open up to people, but he opened up to Deku during their fight. He also felt guilty that then the whole school had to go into dorms because of him. He felt like it was all his fault and everybody hated him, and that's a lot for a 16-year-old to handle, let's be honest. So he got really down on himself. He wouldn't really interact with the other students that much. He would just go to his room and sleep. And then past that, he decided to kind of come out of his shell a little bit. He became the drummer of the Class 1A band, which he really enjoyed, and he kind of slowly started opening up and interacting with his classmates after that. Moving on past that, bunch of other small things happen with Bakugo where you can kind of see his character develop quite a bit. Like when he is in the two classes in their battle section there, where he learned the value of teamwork, where he protected his team and he basically brought them to victory, which nobody was expecting. Even his teammates, they were not expecting him to act that way and to protect them and have their backs, which then that kind of made them like him more. And even Class 1B was in shock by how he acted, because all they knew him was angry, yelling, he hated everybody, he was confrontational, that sort of thing. So this was a big step for Bakugo. And then we kind of are going to start going to the final battles now. The war and the arc and everything that happens to him. So this one's actually going to be a long episode. So we're going to do a part 3 where I'm going to break down everything in that final arc. And it's going to be a doozy, I feel like. So hold on tight. We're going to do part 3 here in a couple moments. Hello everybody, welcome to part 3 of Character Development Katsuki Bakugo Edition. Now this one is kind of nearing the end of the series, so there's a lot to unravel here, so let's get to it here. So starting with the what was it? The first part of the war where they battled on two fronts. Bakugo was put as rescue team, was with the rescue team, which he did not like. He wanted to fight some villains and get his hands dirty, but he was stuck making sure the civilians were safe, which did anger him, but he knew, like, this is part of being a hero, so he did it anyways, even though he was yelling at everybody and kind of being rude. That's just our Bakugo there doing Bakugo things. And then they hear that Shigaraki is awake and that he is looking for something. And that's kind of when Deku realizes what Shigaraki is after and leaves. Bakugo goes after him because he does know Deku's secret and wants to protect him as best he can. So they get to the outskirts of the town where they end up having to fight Shigaraki. Endeavor shows up along with Shoto, and Aizawa also shows up. Bakugo holds most pro heroes with a lot of respect. He cares about them basically, and he also cares about his friends. At this point, you can see his character is almost fully developed because he does know the essence of being a hero. The only thing he states is that he heard, I believe it was All Might, say that most people who were born to be a hero in a dangerous situation, their bodies moved without thinking. Bakugo never had that moment. He just always knew this is what he was supposed to do. So while the battle is going on, and for one, Mr. Aizawa gets shot with that bullet, and he gets gravely injured. Bakugo really is upset by this, along with Endeavor getting hurt as well, where he comes up with the plan to have Endeavor use his powerful attack to try and stop Shigaraki. So him and Shoto shoot Endeavor up, and Endeavor uses his attack, but it doesn't work, and everybody knows that this is not good. So then Izuku, or Deku, is getting badly injured. He's getting tired. He's getting less fast, so he's slowing down really bad. And Shigaraki launches an attack at him. Now, this was the moment where Bakugo knew that he was a hero because his body moved without thinking and he took the piercing blow to the gut and told Deku to stop trying to do this by himself, which for a long time Bakugo thought he could do everything on his own. So this was a big step for Bakugo to realize that some things you can't do on your own, and he realized the same traits he had were now with Deku as well. So he was trying to save his friend. When he woke up from the hospital, he found out that Deku was still unconscious and was afraid for his friend. So he went trying to find him and was very upset to hear his condition. And later on, Deku leaves UA and leaves a note for everybody explaining his quirk and what Shigaraki was after. And then they decide to go after Deku and bring him back with permission from Principal Nezu and the other heroes. They all have things they want to say to him, but Bakugo has the most. He realizes he needs to apologize for everything he put Deku through throughout the years. But he can't say it right away. He needs to bring Deku down first. So all of them pitch in, they get him back to the ground, and then Bakugo steps up and he apologizes for everything, which for Bakugo is a huge stepping stone to being the man he wants to be. And he also explains in front of everybody all his feelings and what he was feeling throughout everything that happened, which is also huge for Bakugo, to be that vulnerable in front of everybody. So they bring Deku back, everything's good, and then they come up with the plan to bring down All for One. Bakugo gets sent to the coffin in the sky with Best Jeanist, Mirako, Tamaki, Nejire, and Deku was supposed to be there as well, but he got sent somewhere else, and Bakugo knew that they weren't a match for Shigaraki. They couldn't beat him without Deku. They needed Deku's powers. But he bravely kept fighting. And then he got badly injured. Shigaraki basically broke his arm to begin with and threw him. And that's when all the emotions came out for him. And he realized he might not make it through this fight. So he got up and he said he hurt everywhere, but Deku does it all the time, so that must be the essence of a hero. So he kept fighting even though he was in immense pain, and ultimately got a finishing blow from Shigaraki and was technically dead for quite a few minutes. Edshot and Best Jeanist did their best to heal him and mend him, and then at the end he does wake up with a huge explosion, and he knows what needs to be done, and he goes and he finishes off All for One basically, and also pushes Deku up to do his finishing move on Shigaraki later on. And then he became the hero he always wanted to be. He was still an angry person. He would yell, he would shout, but he always put others before himself after that. And ultimately, he also wanted Deku to join his hero agency at the end there, because he admired Deku fully after everything that happened in that war. He was started at rank 5, and then he dropped to rank 15 due to his personality. Unfortunately, people did not like the yelling. But he did end up having a huge character development where he went from angsty, angry teenager to a hero that people looked up to. So he is an amazing character and does so much. I don't know who I'm gonna do next, but stay tuned for episode 4 later on. Bye.